These are the 4.8 notes for Trig. We're going to be solving story problems today. There are 3 methods which we're going to use to solve story problems. They're listed right here. SOHCAHTOA, that's only if you have a 90-degree angle. Law of signs. For law of signs, you have to have either both the A's, both the B's, or both the C's. So the side as well as the angle. And then the law of cosines would be for everything else. Our first example, 3 little kids are playing catch with some baseball. And then just each time you read a sentence, draw it out. Allison, we'll put her right here, throws the ball 20 feet to Ben. Then Allison picks up another ball, turns 35 degrees, and throws the ball 25 feet to Caleb. How far away are Ben and Caleb? So we're looking for this distance right here. And on that triangle, since here is your angle A on the left corner, this would be side A. That's what we're going to be looking for. Let's label the rest of these. Side B is the 25. They're always across from each other. And side C is the 20. So I know I'm not going to be able to use SOHCAHTOA because I do not have a 90-degree angle. The other two, the law of sines and cosines, requires that I set up my chart. So that's what I'm going to do right here. Then I'm going to put everything in the correct place. I have 35 degrees for angle A, 25 for side B, and 20 for side C. Because I don't have both A's, both B's, or both C's, I'm not able to do the law of sines. So I'll have to go to the law of cosines. The law of cosines can be found on your 4.7 notes. So if you scroll back to the notes we have before, you've got those on the front and back page as well. Since we're trying to find side A, we're going to be using that formula right there. So pause the video, see if you can set up that formula, and then type it in your calculator. At the end of the problem, make sure that you square root to get rid of that square right there. All right, hopefully you were able to set up the formula. Should look like this. And let me just run through how to type it into the calculator just in case. All right, I've set up my screen so that we can see hopefully both of these at the same time. So the first thing to do, especially if you're using your calculator on your Chromebook, you have to make sure that you are in degree mode. Right now this mode is in radian. So go to mode, go down to the line that says radians degrees, scroll over to degree, and hit enter. And it should change right up here at the top where it says degree now. You know you're good. Clear out of that. Still in degree mode, and now we're ready to type this in. Everything you see after the equal sign will get typed in. Use this as your square button right there. Minus sign, multiplication. Here's your cosine button right there, and 35. Once you have that answer, again, because you have this square right here, you want to make sure at the end you square root the answer. Otherwise, you're giving us the answer for a squared and not the answer for a. So to get to the square root button, which you see in light blue right here, you're going to hit second and then square root. And then to type that answer in, we're going to hit second. And right down here in light blue, you see the ANS, that's your answer button. That copy pastes that 205 with all the decimals into the square root. You hit enter and get 14.3. 14.3. There we go. So with these problems, part of it is setting up the story problem. Make sure you're drawing the triangle correctly. A big part of it is making sure that you're setting up the formula correctly. And another big part of it, making sure that you have practice in the calculator and that you understand how it works. All right, let's go on to the next problem here. Example number 2. An 80-foot tree casts a shadow of 122 feet. So we'll draw our tree. And then you've got the shadow across the ground there. 80 foot tall and 122 foot shadow. There's the triangle. And you're looking for the angle of elevation. Angle of elevation is always from the bottom looking up. From the end of the shadow, which would be here, to the top of the tree, which would be up here. So we're looking for our x. Now, anytime you have something standing upright like this, you are going to have a 90-degree angle right here, which means we are going to be able to use SOHCAHTOA. So, SOHCAHTOA. We're going to pick which one is going to be most useful for us. So the 80 is the opposite of the x. The 122 is the adjacent. The hypotenuse is this long side here, the diagonal, but I'm not going to use that because I don't need to find it and it don't give me that information. So because I have O and A, we're going to be using tangent. Tangent of x equals 80 over 122. Now, when you have tangent of x or sine of x or cosine of x, you have to get rid of the tangent in front of it by inverse tangenting. Inverse tangent of the 80 divided by 122. It's the only way to break this x off of the tangent. So into the calculator, you would do inverse tangent, so second tangent, 80 over 122. Practice typing it into the calculator. Make sure you know how it works. Make sure it's getting you the correct answer. 33 degrees. 33 degrees. All right. Example 3 is a two-part problem. Two observers are on the ground, see an airplane between them in the sky. Observer A measures an angle of elevation of 27 degrees. Observer B, we'll put him over here, observes an angle of 35 degrees. If the two observers are standing 19 kilometers apart, how high is the airplane off the ground? So if you talk about the airplane being letter C, how high something off the ground is a direct line straight down. And you can see that's not really part of our triangle right now. So what we'll need to do first is find one of these diagonals. Maybe let's find this A. And then we'll be able to break it up into a second triangle. I don't have any 90-degree angles, so I know I'm going to be using a chart. Let's put everything into the correct place. 27 degrees, 35 degrees. It's going to be 19 right there. And right now I don't have two of the same letter, but I can easily find C by just doing 180 minus 27 minus 35. That gets 118 degrees. And now because I have both of those C's, I'm allowed to use the law of sines. So I'm going to try to find this side A right here. Sine of 27 over A equals sine of 118 over 19. We'll need to cross multiply 19 times sine of 27 and then divide by the sine of 118. Let's pull that up on the calculator. 19 times the sine of 27, close the parenthesis, divided by the sine of 118, close the parenthesis, and that'll get us our answer for A. Let's round that to 9.8. So what we have is that this side is equal to 9.8. And then what we need to do is find this directly down. So I'm going to think about this triangle now. Let's even redraw it over here. Now it's a right triangle. That's 35 degrees. And I know this is 9.8. Now I can pretty easily find that x. 90 degrees means I can use SOHCAHTOA. Opposite. Hypotenuse. Opposite hypotenuse means I can use sine. Sine of 35 degrees equals O over H. Then we'll just multiply by the 9.8 to cancel it out. And that'll leave us our x by itself, and then we'll just need to type 9.8 times the sine of 35 into the calculator. We'll round that to 5.6. So we had to do two parts there. First, we had to find that diagonal side, side A, and then we found that straight up and down side by taking it as a different triangle. All right. Example 4. Again, this would be a great time to pause the video, see if you can actually read the problem and set it up. It's way easier than example number 3, so give it a try. All right, here's a triangle you should have drawn and labeled. Now we're going to label our opposite adjacent here and here. Again, no need to do the hypotenuse because it's not a number that we need or that we have. O and A means we'll use tangent. For this problem, we have the x in the denominator. We don't want that. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply both sides by x so that the x is no longer in the denominator position. Then in order to get x by itself, we need to divide by the tangent of 57 degrees. So that way those two cancel out completely, leaving you x equals. And then go ahead and type this into the calculator. Make sure that you can divide that out. 205 divided by the tangent of 57. It asks us to round to the nearest whole foot, so we'll call that 133 feet. All right, our last problem. A bridge is supported by triangular bases. If the sides of each brace has lengths of 63, 46, and 40 feet, find the measure of the angle opposite 46. So I'm not really sure what this looks like. We've got a bridge supported by some braces. I'm just going to go ahead and draw a triangle. Maybe it looks like that. And this time they don't tell me about A's, B's, and C's, so I have the right to put these wherever I want. So I'm going to go 63, 46, and 40. And you can rearrange those. Then I'm just going to label them. I'm just going to call this one A, this one B, that one C. Then the angles correspond. This would be angle A, B, and C. I don't know if I have a 90-degree angle, so I cannot assume that I do. That means I'll go ahead and make my chart. Put the numbers in the correct place. This is going to be a law of cosines problem because I am not going to be able to find two of the same letter. So the law of cosines, to find the angle diagonal from the 46. So we're looking for that one. We're looking for B. If you put yours in a different order, that's completely fine. And let's go back on our one before. We're going to be using that formula, or any of these three formulas will work. Pause the video, see if you can set this one up. Type it into your calculator. At the end, you'll need to inverse cosine. All right, so your problem should be set up like this. And then you would type it into your calculator very carefully with the parentheses and squares in exactly the right place. Divide it by, and then open a new parenthesis. close the parenthesis. So again, it should look exactly in your calculator as it looks on your paper. Hit enter, and then remember at the end, because we have that cosine, this one right here, we need to then inverse cosine the answer. So second cosine, second answer, 46.755. We'll round that to the nearest whole degree. We'll call that 47 degrees.